So I'm trying something new on my channel, and that's I'm going to bake you chocolate chip cookies, and you're going to be able to see all these steps. And I brought my son along to help.
Hello. Sorry.
So how much do you like chocolate chip cookies?
I love chocolate chip cookies a lot. They're one of my favorite desserts. I love chocolate chip M&Ms, oatmeal cookies with chocolate chip, basically anything.
Okay, well, we are going to get going. Very first thing is we're going to use butter. We're using real butter. We're not using Crisco, we're not using margarine, we're using real butter. And what you do with the butter, a really key point is that you take it out of the refrigerator and you let it come to room temperature. You're not melting it because that will change your cookie consistency, but you want it soft, which is what I did. And then you put it in your stand mixer or by hand, and you get it till it is creamy. You want it creamy. And now you're going to add eggs. There's a lot of interesting facts out there about eggs, half of which I don't think are necessarily true. We're having to use a pasture-raised egg. We are trying to eat maybe a little, I know we're making chocolate chip cookies and we're talking about eating healthier, but you can still use good ingredients even in chocolate chip cookies. And there's pasture-raised, there's cage-free, there's organic. There's a whole bunch of different words out there, so you have to do what you need to do.
Okay, got it.
And a good key is that when you want to do your eggs, you put them into a bowl. Why would you think I would do that?
That's a good question. Why would you do that?
Okay, you might answer for me. Eggshells. You invariably will get eggshells. And then I also like to mix them, pre-mix them. One thing I did though is that I actually got rid of one of the whites. So I have 2 yolks and 1 white in here.
And why did you do that?
It's preference, and it I don't know, I think it makes it just maybe a slightly richer egg.
Okay.
But it's completely preference. You're more than happy to go ahead and do that if you want. So now I am going to pop this back on the stand mixer. Give me 1 second. Thank you. So I just put it on the stand mixer for a good minute or 2. And again, I got it to this nice and thick consistency. And you just have to let it go because the first couple of seconds it looks really weird. It won't come together. And you just have to kind of force it to come together. Next, the key to chewy chocolate chip cookies is that you're going to use more brown sugar than you do white sugar. So it's a cup and a half sugar total, of which I'm putting a whole cup of brown sugar in and half a cup of white sugar. This is going to go right into my egg and butter mixture. Brown sugar just gives it a chewier taste. You know how they make brown sugar?
Molasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brown sugar is basically a white sugar molasses.
Yeah.
And that's just one of those things that consumers usually don't know.
Exactly, yeah.
And we're going to pop this back onto the mixer because I want to get all of this incorporated. It makes a much smoother cookie.
Ooh.
And we are back with our mixture all together. Now, it's very important to understand that I can mix this all day long. You won't, but you could. You can do a lot if it's just the sugar, the butter. I could add some spices or whatever. I could do all sorts of stuff. But the minute I add baking soda, you have a limited amount of mixing availability or it just gets tough. It just isn't very good anymore. So the more you mix the butter, sugar, eggs together, the nicer the cookie will be. And then once the flour and especially the baking soda comes in, mix as little as possible. So next I am going to I'm going to do this 2 different ways. I'm going to add 2 cups of flour in its entirety. And I'm using unbleached flour.
Oh, and how come?
The flour is going to give you the same result, unbleached or bleached.
Oh, okay.
It's just nicer to just have an unbleached flour. It's about the same price. I don't think it's much more. And bleach just is for vanity. It just makes it pure white. And this for the most part is white. But I'm going to add my first cup of flour into the bowl. And now I'm going to add salt, and that's half a teaspoon, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. The reason I'm using baking soda is because of chemistry.
Yes.
Right? If you put too much baking soda in here, it's going to taste bitter. If you don't put enough in, you don't have enough flavor. So I know I've used a whole teaspoon before and it was okay, but I think 3/4 of a teaspoon is like the perfect amount. And I'm adding the salt in. You can add it all right in at the same time. So you always need to measure when it comes to baking. Cooking, throw everything in the pot. The actual measuring is crucial to baking.
Yes.
So like I said, this doesn't want to have a whole lot of mixing done to it now. I could put this on the mixer, but I can do it just as fast right by hand. Preheat your oven, 350 or 375. I like 350 because it gives it, just a little bit chewier cookie. At 375, it's going to give you a crisper cookie, and I like this a little bit more chewy. So 350 slows it down just enough that the middle may not get completely done and the chocolate's all gooey. So great. So we had a discussion when we were deciding what to do with this. I asked Brandon, are we going to do chocolate chip cookies? He said, yes. What about marshmallow cookies?
Right?
And what about Snicker cookies? So I'm not adding all of that into one cookie, but I thought, okay, we could divide up the dough and make separate batches with the different flavors, which is perfectly fine. So I have chunks of chocolate. I forgot the vanilla. Vanilla is such a wonderful part of this, and this will be perfectly fine. I am going to get some saran wrap. And of course, everything on the counter has been washed because you want to be clean as you bake. This is not the time to get anybody sick because everybody's at home. And this is a perfect time for everybody to make chocolate chip cookies or cookies at home, but let's make sure everything is clean. And so we have Snickers, chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate chip and then marshmallows.
And marshmallows, okay. So the first batch of cookies
is complete.
Well, not complete because we have to add the chocolate.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to add, so this is a 10 ounce bag of European chocolate chips, which I've already used. I don't like adding a whole bag of chocolate chips to any cookie recipe.
Really?
Yeah, I know. We've had that discussion. You like it, I don't. And I'm not going to add a whole 3/4 bag, and especially since I only have half.
And they are dark chocolate.
Yeah.
So this could be.
So I'm going to do about, what was that? Yes, I just told you to measure. You don't have to necessarily measure all your chocolate chips. But I have a good, strong, heaping chocolate. Hi, we are back. I took a couple seconds, I put a couple things away, so I'm going to wash my hands. I'm coming back. So there are two different schools of thought on how to do cookies. You can do the regular cookie with a regular size spoon and put it onto your mat. I am using, I'm almost embarrassed to show this to you, but then I'm not. This is what's called a Silpat. This Silpat's been used a lot.
Yeah.
I love it. I use it every time I bake or use the oven. This is my go-to. For a bunch of different reasons. The main one is that I don't have to put a lot of grease. Things are going to come off of it. And you can do really cool things like cheese.
Mm-hmm.
You can do
like cheese chips.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
So there's, like I said, there's two schools of thought. So you can do a spoonful of cookie dough. Easiest thing in the world, right? You can do the scoop method. And you get out the biggest ice cream scoop you have and you take it.
That would be for me. That is for me now.
One thing that we also use that we like quite a bit is that, I may not be able to see it, but we have a little Breville. It's a smaller oven and it does some really nice things. You can bake cookies in there. I'm going to pop them in a 350 degree oven that I've had preheating now for a good 20 minutes because we've been doing this video. And we will be back. So what we did while we were gone is that at 10 minutes, I'm sorry, we put these in for 12 minutes. At 10 minutes, I had my Alexa tell me, and I put a marshmallow. These are vanilla flavored marshmallows. Mm-hmm. I think most marshmallows are vanilla flavored, right? Yeah. Where are they from, honey?
They are from Whole Foods. They are fat-free and gluten-free.
And all marshmallows are gluten-free. How much did we pay for these?
Like probably $8 probably.
From Whole Foods, yeah.
But
They're
they
really
are good.
They really are. And now we have chocolate chip cookies covered with marshmallows. Do you want one?
I do. And now we need to test the ratio. Oh, darn it.
We were going after a chewy cookie. Would you think we got a chewy cookie?
It is chewy. It is delicious.
Soft.
And soft. Wow. And it falls apart, but...
And these are not keto, because I'm going to talk about keto later on, or in another video, sorry. We're just going to put our cookies right onto the plate. So we have some of the chocolate chip cookies that are just ooey gooey delicious, that do not have the extra marshmallow on them. And then we have some that do.
And if you're wondering where we got this plate from, we got it from Target. It is a collaboration with Chrissy Teigen. We have many of her dishes and items that she collaborated with, and they're so like chic and modern and hipster, very cool.
And they have a lot of weight, and they have a nice lip underneath it so you could actually hang on to something. So they're nice. Now, what you were saying, Brandon, we could do that too. After these bake for, again, 10, 11 minutes, we can pop the cut up Snickers on top of them if you want. So let's keep that there. We can cut them up fine, put them on top, and it melts again. And the reason why you wouldn't want to put that in at the very beginning and let it be melting on top the whole time is that it's going to burn.
Oh, true.
Yeah. Your oven will make that decision for you. You have to know your oven. I know that sounds strange. You have to really get to know how your oven cooks. Is there a cold spot? Is there a hot spot? Does it need how much time does it need to really come up to temperature? Sometimes my oven will work better after I've baked a batch or two of cookies, just because it's come up to that temperature.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to get this, and we will be right back. So today I made chocolate chip cookies, but I'm also trying to be really good and go on keto. And he's not on keto with me, but he has eaten some of my keto items. And today we're going to do a keto dessert to counteract all the cookies that I'm trying not to eat. And this is a mug cake. So I'm going to do a really quick mug cake. And I'm sure you've seen these all over the internet. And mine might be a tiny bit different, but it is so incredibly easy. The time that it took me to take all this out of the cupboard, I will have had this done and popped in there. And then it takes me longer to clean my cup than it does to actually pop it in the microwave and cook it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tablespoon of butter, real butter, not margarine, not Crisco, nothing like that, real butter. And I'm going to pop in the microwave for 20 seconds tops so it gets melted. But now the key is I set this aside because I want it to, I don't want it to be hot.
Yeah.
You know why I don't want it to be hot?
Because then it wouldn't bake well, right?
Well, I'm going to add an egg.
Oh, cook the egg.
I don't want to have scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
I want to have a mug cake. So I'm just going to pop my egg right in here to make very certain I don't have any shells.
Protein.
And I'm going to try to do as much of just the yolk as I can. Clean my hands really quick. And I'm going to give this a really quick stir. Mix with a fork. And now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of almond flour. Almond flour is made with ground almonds. There's a lot of different types of almond flours out there. They're super fine, which I'm using, and I encourage you to. But if you have a whole bunch of almonds for some reason in your house, you can make your own almond flour. And then I'm going to use about half a tablespoon of coconut flour. I'm using half a tablespoon because one, I don't want a strong coconut flour taste, but also it just does something, the almond flour and the coconut flour together. And then I'm going to use almond sugar. Some people will use erythritol and some people will use stevia, and I'm going to use a combination of both of these actually. And I'm going to do about 2 teaspoons of coconut sugar, sorry. Coconut sugar is also really low in carbs. It's lower in the glycemic index, and I think it gives a brown sugar flavor, which I like. Again, I'm just going to do a really quick mix. Now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And cocoa flour is also going to give some depth. It's not just the chocolate flavor, but also it helps with that, with the moistness and the depth. So I'm using cocoa powder, and cocoa powder also has 1 net carb in a tablespoon. So that's actually really good. So cocoa powder, not chocolate, not a chocolate bar, not a Snickers. The cocoa powder actually is quite low in carbs, so it's really good for a keto diet. And then I'm going to add about 10 drops of stevia, about 2 squirts. And I'm just going to do a really quick mix. I'm not even mixing it to combine, I'm just really kind of doing that quick mix. And I'm going to add some vanilla.
Cannot forget vanilla.
Nope, you really can't. And I will use a whole tablespoon. Sorry, not a whole tablespoon, about half a tablespoon. And I'm going to use a splash of baking powder. I want to do about 1/8 of a teaspoon. I don't have 1/8 of a teaspoon, so I'm going to try to do about 1/4 of a teaspoon here. So too much is going to be too salty. Not enough, it's not going to rise. To make it just something a little bit different, and this is kind of my secret ingredient, that I stole from somebody else, is that I'm going to use a splash of apple cider vinegar. Literally a splash. And this reduces the egginess taste to it, and it just, I don't know, it just gives it something. And I think it reacts really well with the baking soda or baking powder to give it a little bit more lift. Now I'm going to use the Lily's dark chocolate that is flavored or sweetened with stevia, and a 60 chips, which is about what I'll use, has 4 net carbs, 8 carbs and 4 fiber.
Wow.
And that's probably how, 40?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's about 60.
I think it might even be a tiny bit less than 60. And I'm going to just pop those in. And that's a really nice thing about Lily. It's a really nice thing about a lot of these alternative sugars is that you don't want a lot of it. It leans to not wanting a bunch.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than trying something that's a keto, either a drink or a dessert, and it's so super artificially, weirdly sweet.
Yeah.
Cut back on that. You don't need all of that. When you're on keto, you really learn not to want to have a lot of different sugars. You learn that.
Yeah.
This is what my mug cake looks like. Now I'm going to pop it in the microwave for 60 seconds. What other flavors would you like in a mug cake?
In a mug cake? Well, we do have lots of flavors for coffee, so maybe French vanilla. Sounds kind of interesting. Okay,
a coffee mug cake would be really nice. And one thing is that you can do just a plain vanilla, and you can cut it open and put some berries, like some blueberries or some cut strawberries in the middle.
Good flavor.
And another thing, would you grab the whipped cream out of the refrigerator, please? You can also do a little drizzle, which I'm going to do a really, really light drizzle with the erythritol. The one nice thing that's also a great game changer is that dairy whipped topping. This has 2 tablespoons, has 1 carb in it. So that means that you can have that creaminess that you search for with 1 carb. That's not bad at all. So I'm checking to see if it's wet. That's one way I can describe it. I'm going to see if my mug cake is wet. And to me, my mug cake's a little wet. So I'm going to pop it in for 30 more seconds. All right, my mug cake is out of the microwave and it's really hot. I can let this is where the fun part, creative part comes in, right? You can let this cool and eat it right out of the mug. Add some of your whipped topping, glaze, berries, just pop it right on top. Another option is that I can pop it right out of the mug.
Smells good.
Very chocolatey.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a burnt flavor or anything. Steam got in your face.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do with my erythritol is that I could make a little bit of a glaze, or I could just take some and just make it snow right on top of it.
So that's also resemble powdered sugar.
Well, it's the same as powdered sugar. It's powdered erythritol. If I want a little bit more sweetness, I can use my Lakanto maple flavored syrup. If I wanted a little bit of flavor, I wouldn't put this on chocolate, but I'd put this on vanilla for sure. All right, let's all grab a fork.
Thank you.
And let's try it. Ooh, it's fudgy.
Wow, it's like soft and airy.
It's hot.
Oh.
It is hot. Princess bite.
That was really good. Wow. It's very different from what I'm used to, but it has a nice strong cacao flavor to it.
Yes, it does. And it's very light. It almost explodes in your mouth. So that's a very nice, and it's very, very rich and chocolatey. So you have to like chocolate to really like this. But I love chocolate, so that makes me really happy. You could also do a cheesecake. The only problem with the cheesecake is it doesn't necessarily rise as much. Thank you for coming back for me and my keto obsession. And I hope that you will always come back. Subscribe, click, go see Brandon
at Make a Merlot.
What's your YouTube channel?
Brandon Merlot.
All right, have a great evening. Bye.